Welcome to the Mavs Court Report. I'm your host, Larry Lace. And on today's episode, we're going to dive into all the latest news and opinions surrounding the Dallas Mavericks. But first, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Game Time, for sponsoring this episode. If you're looking for the best place to find tickets to the next Dallas Mavericks game, or to even the Dallas Stars, or any type of sporting event or show, come check out Game Time. Use the link in the description and help support the channel. And hey, hit that thumbs up if you like our video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification button to be notified of future videos. Now on to our first topic. There are three massive issues that Dallas Mavericks have whenever Luka is forced to sit. The Dallas Mavericks lost to the Houston Rockets 101-92 on Wednesday at the American Airlines Center without Luka. The 23-year-old superstar rested on the second night of a back-to-back after dazzling in 40 minutes to lift the Mavs over the rival LA Clippers. Luka needed a night off, and facing the rebuilding Rockets seemed like the perfect time. It was a night to forget for the Mavericks. They shot just 30% from the field, including going 12 of 55 from three-point range. There were open looks, but the Mavs were not making them on the second night of a back-to-back after a hard-fought win. The Rockets also blocked 19 shots on Wednesday night, which was tied for the 14th most since the 83-84 season. The loss to the Rockets was a microcosm of what happens to the Mavs whenever Luka sits, even just for a short rest. The team struggles in three areas that needed to be addressed before February's trade deadline, and we're going to take a closer look. Number 3, scoring. The Mavericks only scored 92 points on Wednesday night without the league's leading scorer. Luka is not just an elite scorer. He also leads the NBA in usage and in time of possession. The 23-year-old superstar always has the ball in his hands, but is mostly out of necessity. The Mavericks score 117 points per 100 possessions with Luka on the floor, and that number drops to 101.9 with number 77 on the bench. He's an elite scorer and the best shot creator in the league, and Spencer Dinwiddie is the only other player that can create shots for the Mavs. Dallas is going to struggle to score whenever Luka sits because teams just need to force Dinwiddie to give it up and put bodies on Tim Hardaway Jr. and Christian Wood. DHJ is still working his way back from last season's foot injury, and Wood is still finding his role with the team. Both were outstanding on Wednesday night, and the Mavericks only scored 92 points. The Mavericks need another player capable of getting at least 12 to 15 points every game. Whether he starts or comes off the bench, Dallas just needs more offensive punch whenever Luka is not on the floor. So number 2, rebounding. The Mavs rank 30th in rebounds per game and 28th in rebound percentage. They struggle on the glass with Luka in the lineup, but things get worse when his 8.8 rebounds per game are on the bench. The Rockets out-rebounded Dallas 56-38 on Wednesday, with 6 Houston players grabbing at least 7 boards. The Mavericks struggled to rebound in the playoffs, so they had added Christian Wood and JaVale McGee to improve their front line. McGee has struggled mightily, including going from starter to the fringes of the rotation already. Wood got 8 rebounds on Wednesday night, and he and Dorian Finney-Smith accounted for 42% of the team's total rebounds. The Mavs need to emphasize rebounding. They are giving away extra possessions on the offensive glass and failing to pull down their own misses for second-chance shots. Luka cannot do it all, and rebounding should be an easy area to address for the Mavericks. McGee and Maxi Kleber were both out with injuries, which forced the Mavericks to reach deep into their bench on Wednesday night. Still, Dallas has a rebounding issue that they should address before the deadline. If McGee cannot find his fit, the Mavs are going to struggle on the glass in the playoffs again unless they can find an addition. And number 1, shot creation. The biggest hole without Luka on the floor is the team's shot creation. The Mavs starters scored 27 points on Wednesday night, and no player was in double figures against the Rockets. Sure, they missed some open looks, but they did not have Luka to draw the defense and get some easy buckets inside. The biggest issue is the rest of the roster's reliance on outside shooting. The Mavericks took 55 three-pointers on November 16th, which was the most by any team in a game this season. Only 4 other teams have a team topped 53s attempted. Spencer Dinwiddie can get to the rim and score, but the rest of the roster is catch-and-shot players. They need to be set up and struggle to even attack the closeout. The Mavs are going to struggle to win any game with just one playmaker able to take the floor. What if Luka or Dinwiddie needs to miss additional time? Dallas is just going to punt those games? It was clear the Mavericks needed another ball handler and playmaker the moment Jalen Brunson departed for the Knicks, and their front office did zero to address it. The Dallas Mavericks need to get Luka more help. It is that simple, and hopefully losing to the rebuilding Rockets without their superstar was the wake-up call their decision makers needed to go out and improve the roster. Only time will tell. And now on to our next topic. Despite losing, we can find 3 encouraging takeaways from the Dallas Mavericks loss to the Houston Rockets. The Dallas Mavericks lost to the Rockets 101-92 on November 16th without Luka, who rested on the second night of a back-to-back. Dallas was coming off a hard-fought win over the rival Clippers, and the difficult game caught up to them late as they mustered just 18 fourth-quarter points and only 41 in the second half to fall to 8-6 on the season. It was a historic night for the young Rockets as they blocked 19 shots and shot 45% from three-point range. Houston earned just their 3rd win of the season as 7 Rockets scored in double figures on Wednesday night at the American Airlines Center. What can fans take away from the Mavericks' loss without Luka? There was plenty, including an impressive performance from Tim Hardaway Jr. So, begin, number 3. Tim Hardaway Jr. gets hot and looks healthy. Tim Hardaway Jr. had a night to forget in Tuesday's win over the Clippers as he was held scoreless in 22 minutes of action and missed all 7 of his field goals. The 6'5" wing did not shy away from shooting, but they were not falling. Luckily, things turned around against the Rockets. Hardaway had 28 points on 10 of 26 shooting from the field, including 5 3-pointers. It was not the most efficient night from THJ, but he delivered a key scoring performance that helped keep the Mavericks in the game. Ultimately, they ran out of steam late, but Hardaway Jr. was impressive on Wednesday night. Hardaway Jr. is still working his way to peak form after his season-ending foot injury in January. It was fantastic to see him have a monster performance against the Rockets, but he will continue to be up and down until he finally knocks off the rust. Number 2, need more ball handlers. Luka leads the league in usage, time of possession, and scoring. So it was no surprise that the Mavs had a massive void to fill on Wednesday night. It was the second night of a back-to-back, and Spencer Dinwiddie played 41 minutes against the Clippers. His legs were heavy, which contributed to a rough shooting night. Dallas could not afford to sit Dinwiddie, and he carried another hefty workload because the Mavericks had nowhere else to turn to without Luka. The 6'5" guard produced 9 points, 10 assists, 2 rebounds, and 2 steals in 32 minutes of action. Dinwiddie just made 3 of his 18 field goal attempts. Head coach Jason Kidd turned to Facundo Campazzo on Wednesday night, but the 5'10" point guard will remain an emergency option. He finished with 3 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals, but he made just 1 of his 7 field goal attempts and had 3 turnovers in 23 minutes of action. The Mavs do not want to have to rely on him in the playoffs. If Luka or Spencer need to miss time, the Mavericks have nowhere to turn for their ball handling and playmaking. It was clear on November 16th, without Luka, and the front office needs to address their playmaking and ball handling issues before February's trade deadline. Number 1, Seawood shows what he can do. The Mavericks mustered just 92 points without Luka, but Christian Wood had 26 of them. The 6'10" big man showcased his entire skill set on Wednesday night, including this coast-to-coast score. Wood is a key scorer for the Mavericks with or without number 77 in the lineup, and he delivered against the Rockets. He finished with 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block to go with his 26 points. He made just 9 of 22 from the field, but was a perfect 6 of 6 from the free throw line on Wednesday. It was surprising that Coach Kidd did not turn to Wood more versus the Rockets. It was the first time since joining the team that he topped 30 minutes in a contest, but he only played 30. Dallas desperately needed scoring and shot creation without Luka, and it seemed like the perfect time to let Wood play 35 minutes. He did deal with a bit of foul trouble, and perhaps that was one of the concerns. The Mavericks need Christian Wood to become their second leading scorer and a key cog in their offense. He is playing well as the sixth man, but a bit more playing time and production would do wonders for Dallas, who is seemingly in a close contest every night. The Dallas Mavericks face the Denver Nuggets for 2 straight home games on Friday and Sunday. You can expect Luka to be back in the lineup, and you definitely do not want to miss a second of the action. Now, before we move on, let us know your thoughts about their loss against Houston. Is there something you believe they should fix? Or something I missed? Let us know. Now on to our next topic. Will Dallas Mavericks trade for Kobe White? The Dallas Mavericks need another ball handler and playmaker on their roster, and that was clear in the win over the LA Clippers on November 15th. LA doubled Luka and was forcing him to give up the ball, and the Mavs offense stalled for most of the third quarter as their jumpers were not following, and Spencer Dinwiddie was the only other player who could attack the rim. Their need for a third ball handler and playmaker was clear from the moment Jalen Brunson departed in free agency. Head coach Jason Kidd had to play both Luka and Dinwiddie nearly 40 minutes to defeat the Clippers because the Mavs did not have anybody else who could make plays. So, will the front office address the issue before the trade deadline? According to Hoops Hypes, Kobe White is a player that is expected to be available before the trade deadline. Could the Mavs acquire the 6'5" guard? Here's a look at his fit and why Dallas should have interest, and of course the odds of getting the deal done. So how does Kobe White fit on the Dallas Mavericks? White had a breakout 2020-2021 season when he averaged 15 points, 4.8 assists, and 4.1 rebounds in 31.2 minutes per game. His efficiency was not ideal, and the Bulls were in the lottery, but for a 20-year-old guard, those are strong numbers that showcase a ton of potential. But White was unable to match them in his third season. There were some positives, like his three-point percentage rising to 38.5%, but overall his playing time and role diminished. Chicago added DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, and Lonzo Ball in the backcourt, and White never quite found his place in the rotation. He's more of a combo guard, who made 40% of his 278 catch-and-shoot three-pointers last season. White would give the Mavs a tertiary ball handler that can space the floor. The 22-year-old has a ton of untapped potential, but can he realize it in Dallas playing off Luka? It would make his offensive game more dynamic, but White would need to buy into the team's defensive scheme. Kobe White could be a fit for the Dallas Mavericks, and we're going to take a closer look at why the Mavericks would be interested. White is set to be a restricted free agent in the summer of 2023, and his trade value has never been lower. Ayo Dosunmu has also passed him in the rotation, which has White coming off the bench and averaging just 21.9 minutes per game, despite Lonzo and Zach LaVine missing time early in the season. The Bulls would likely trade White for a second-round pick or two at this point. The Mavericks are trying to build a title contender around Luka, so adding a 6'5" guard on a short-term deal, who was the 7th overall pick in 2019, sounds exciting. Would White realize his full potential playing next to Luka? He would get plenty of open shots, and head coach Jason Kidd has done wonders with the team's defense. If White buys in, he could improve tremendously on the end of the floor. White would also give the Mavericks a new dimension to their offense. He leads the NBA in frequency of transition attempts at 40%, and White is scoring 1.1 points per possession on those plays. The Mavs have the fourth fewest transition attempts per game so far this season, and they play at the slowest pace. White could get them moving and create a few easy buckets, especially with the second unit. Would Kobe White be a game changer? No, but he fills a need, adds a dimension, and improves the team's overall talent. If he can be had on the cheap, the Mavericks should have some interest, but can they get the deal done? The Mavs will be in the market for a playmaking guard before February's deadline, and they will be looking to buy low on an underperforming option. Dallas owes their 2023 first-round pick to the Knicks from the original Kristaps trade, but they will have a full cupboard of first to deal next summer. The Mavericks want to acquire a second star, so finding cheap upgrades will be the goal this season. Kobe White fits the bill of what the Mavs are looking for. His defense has been subpar in his first 3 seasons, but he has the size and athleticism to hold his own on that end of the floor. Do Kidd and the Mavericks think they can bring out better defense in the 22-year-old? If so, that only increases the team's interest in the talented guard. Coach Kidd said after Tuesday's game, it is too early to be looking at trades, but December 15th will be here before fans know it. White is certainly an option that the Mavericks will consider, but the cost will determine if a deal gets done. Do not rule out the Dallas Mavericks trading for Kobe White. A lot will happen between now and the deadline, but these rumors are something to watch between now and February. So stay tuned for all the latest on the Mavs on your podcast favorite, the Mavs Court Report. And now on to our next topic. 5 players Dallas should never have given up on. The Dallas Mavericks are currently searching for more talent around superstar Luka. They want to be annual title contenders, but Dallas needs to upgrade their roster. The Mavs have the hardest piece to acquire in Luka, and they are searching for a co-star to help him compete for a championship. The Mavs have been searching for talent for more than 2 decades, as Dirk Nowitzki's legendary run in Dallas overlapped with Luka's rookie campaign. They have been trying to improve their roster and build a sustainable title contender since Mark Cuban took over as owner in 2000. The Mavs have had plenty of turnover over the last 2 decades, and that means some regrettable decisions. Here are 5 players that the Mavericks should have never given up on. And let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And is there somebody else you guys would include in this list? So, starting off, at number 5 is Seth Curry. The Mavs gave up on Seth Curry twice. He found his footing with the Kings during the 2015-2016 season before truly breaking out the next year with the Mavericks. He averaged about 13 points per game, 2.7 assists, and 1.1 steals in 29 minutes per game, while shooting 42% from the 3-point range. Curry was a key piece of their rotation, and it looked like Dallas had found a gem. This 6'2" guard missed the entire 2017-2018 season with a leg injury, so the Mavs decided to let him walk in free agency. After a stellar year in Portland when Curry helped the Trailblazers reach the conference finals, the Mavericks re-signed him. He was again a fantastic floor spacer and shot maker, but Dallas decided to deal him to Philadelphia on draft night 2020 for Josh Richardson. The Mavs were hoping Richardson would bring more playmaking and defense, but he lasted just 1 season in Dallas as the experiment did not work. Curry was fantastic in Philly and immediately made the Mavs regret giving up the sharpshooter. Number 4, Jay Crowder. The Mavs acquired Crowder in a draft night trade back in 2012, and the second-round pick became part of the team's rotation as a rookie. He was a role player capable of defending multiple positions with a bright future. It appeared Dallas had landed a rotation piece in the second round, but they decided to trade him in a quickly regrettable deal. The Mavericks traded away Jameer Nelson, Brandon Wright, their 2016 first-round pick, and Crowder to acquire Rajon Rondo and Dwight Powell. Dallas hoped Rondo would help the team contend in Dirk's twilight, but he did not even finish the season with the team. Crowder became a starter and key 2 player in Boston, and he helped the Heat and Suns reach the NBA Finals in back-to-back years in 2020 and 2021. The 6'6" forward is a stellar role player that competes hard on both ends of the floor and helps his team win. The Mavs would love to have Crowder on the team right now. He would be another trusted defender and shot maker that head coach Jason Kidd could rely on. Crowder spent his first 2.5 seasons in Dallas, but he decided against returning when he joined the Suns in free agency in 2020. Number 3, Harrison Barnes. The Mavs signed Barnes in 2016 to a 4-year deal worth $94.4 million. He won a championship with the Warriors in 2015 and immediately became the leading scorer in Dallas. Barnes was overtasked in that role, but the Mavericks drafted Luka in 2018. The teenager was immediately the team's best player, and Barnes was fitting well next to Luka before he was dealt to Sacramento. The Mavericks traded for Kristaps to be their second star. Acquiring the Unicorn cost the Mavs 2 starters and their 6th man plus 2 first-round picks. Dallas knew they would have to give KP a max contract in the offseason, so they offloaded Barnes' contract to Sacramento for Justin Jackson and Zach Randolph. Zebo never played for the Mavs, and Jackson failed to make an impact. Barnes is the perfect fit next to Luka. He's a versatile 6'8" forward that is a plus shooter and scorer. HB was a role player in Golden State when he won a championship, and he continues to be one in Sacramento. There are 0 reasons why he would not have fit next to Luka and KP in Dallas. Trading Barnes for 0 return made little sense at the time, and it makes less now. The Mavericks need talent around Luka, and they certainly gave up on Barnes too soon. Number 2, Jalen Brunson. Failing to re-sign Jalen Brunson could haunt the Mavs for years to come. He transformed from second-round pick to the second leading scorer on a Western Conference finalist during his 4 years in Dallas. JB wanted to stay, and he was willing to accept a 4-year extension worth $55 million. But the front office never made the offer. They deserve all the blame because that would look like one of the best value contracts in the NBA right now if they would have gotten a deal done. Instead, Brunson played out his final season and walked at free agency. He is the starting point guard and lead playmaker for the Knicks, and the Mavericks have missed his presence mightily this season. JB's ability to create shots and bail out the offense was massive. Even after failing to extend Brunson, Dallas should have attempted to outbid the Knicks. JB may not have been the traditional second star next to Luka, but he just keeps getting better. Brunson is averaging 20 points, 6.9 assists, and 1.2 steals per game for the Knicks this season. Having another 20-point per game scorer would be massive for the Mavericks as they look to push their way into the title picture. Number 1, Steve Nash. The Mavs gave up on Nash in 2004. He had become a starter and 2-time All-Star in Dallas after playing behind Jason Kidd and Kevin Johnson in Phoenix in his first 2 NBA seasons. Nash was fantastic for the Mavericks, and he had outstanding chemistry with Dirk. It felt like they were building something special, but Mavs owner Mark Cuban made his decision to let Nash walk in free agency. Giving up on the future Hall of Famer was immediately a massive mistake. Nash won MVP in each of the next 2 seasons, and he played in 6 more All-Star games after leaving for Phoenix. He took his game to another during his time with the Suns. Letting Nash leave in free agency is still one of the franchise's worst moves, and it created the greatest what-if in Mavericks history. Dallas went on to reach the finals in 2006 and win a title in 2011, but they could have been even better if Nash stayed in Dallas. Losing a future 2-time MVP always hurts a franchise, but letting him walk for nothing stung even more. Dallas just decided to let him leave, and Nash made them regret it immediately. So, we want to ask you, who are some players you think deserve to make this list? Let us know in the comments section below. And as always, let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Give us a thumbs up if you like our video. Subscribe to the channel. And find us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search Mavs Court Report. And as always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We will see you next time.